All right, we'll continue to follow that story and more. Kimberly Dukart live at Capitol. Thank you very much. With reaction on the Sussman trial, we'll bring our panelists in this morning kind of to make sense of it all if we can. Former prosecutor, constitutional law attorney, and Newsmax contributor Amir Benno, plus former New York State Senator and Democratic strategist David Carlucci. Gentlemen, thank you so much for coming on. Amir, I'll start with you. Your reaction to the Sussman trial, acquitted yesterday, despite this going on for quite some time. Sussman being found not guilty of one count of lying to the FBI. Your thoughts, Amir?
So I have a more sanguine approach to this. So yes, could there have been jury nullification? Sure. Was it slanted against him? Sure. But the fact of the matter is, let's look at the elements. There was a jury note that came out that said that the jurors were all unified on the outcome, but not on the elements, meaning that some of them found that Sussman did in fact make a false statement, but they didn't find that that statement was material. That's one of the two main elements that the government needed to prove. Material is whether it would have influenced a decision by the FBI. And here, the FBI knew who Sussman was. The FBI knew that he represented Hillary Clinton's campaign and the DNC. And listen, we also had some not so great testimony from James Baker, the acting counsel of the FBI. He had given testimony before Congress and to the special counsel and the inspector general, where he didn't really have a memory of the conversation with Sussman. So you can't really fault the government here. They were working with not the best deck of cards.
Yeah, and David, I'll go to you on this as well. There was also, when this case is being analyzed, that the judge didn't allow certain evidence into this courtroom. Your thoughts on the Sussman trial and the acquittal?
Yeah, I think the whole thing here is that they spent 3 years looking at a case that all it had to do is did Mr. Sussman represent himself appropriately. And look, these are well-defined laws, and Amir is absolutely right. They did not have materiality to move forward with the case, and the jury saw that. I think what's most troubling is when you see Donald Trump's comments to say, okay, we didn't get the result we want, so we need to change the rules. Look, this is a jury that's picked like every case around the country. And just because you don't like the outcome, you want to disparage and discredit the whole system. I think that is one of the key takeaways here and one of the problems that we see. But ultimately, look, we spent 3 years on this whole case claiming big conspiracy, and all it was that Mr. Sussman, the FBI, thought he wasn't representing the Clinton campaign. But in order to have that material evidence, they had to dupe the FBI. The FBI knew Mr. Sussman was connected to the Clinton campaign. To spend 3 years on this is a waste of taxpayer dollars, and it's a real shame. But luckily, the outcome is what it is.
Yeah, let me get to Amir, and also on that, if I can have you respond to that, but also on Robbie Mook in that Wall Street Journal op-ed, and just for sourcing purposes, I won't read it, but just here on the screen, essentially Mrs. Clinton was asked about the plan and approved it. Again, that in that opinion piece in a Wall Street Journal. What did we learn from this? Amir, your final thoughts on this?
Yeah, final thoughts are, this was actually, let's not lose sight of the forest for the trees. This was a victory in many ways. First of all, we learned about the scope and the breadth of this really breathtaking conspiracy, this scandal involving Hillary Clinton, internet companies, academic researchers, the government, the press, to take down a sitting president and to spy on the home and the White House and to disseminate disinformation to the American public in order to frame up Donald J. Trump for treason. We learned about that. We discovered, like you said, with Robbie Mook, that Hillary Clinton gave the green light to disseminate this information to the press. That was huge. And we also obtained favorable rulings on privilege. That means that in the prosecution of Danchenko, and that means on any ongoing grand jury presentations that are going on that we don't know about, those privilege rulings are going to come in. And getting those documents that have been shielded by Fusion GPS and the Hillary campaign under claims of attorney-client privilege into the government's hands are essential to be able to prove Hillary Clinton's involvement in this. So in many ways, this was a great victory, even if the outcome and the verdict isn't what we hoped.
David Carlucci, Amir Benno, thank you so much for your time in the discussion on this. We do appreciate that. Coming up, report showing this: Biden's team is upset over backtracking his gaffes. John Gizzi joining us for the latest after this break.